Hello and welcome to season 2 of the Music Mission. It's been quite a long time. It's been like a few months. On today's episode, we have my good friend Connor Malanos, another Greek. I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Panagioti Karamanos, and no, we're not related, even though we look essentially the same.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me, Panagioti.
Thank you, Connor. Connor, we go way back, don't we? How long have we known each other for?
11, 12, like over a decade, well and truly.
Yeah.
Through uni, through high school.
Through high school. You came in year 7, and I was the year above you in year 8, and then we're kind of the Greek boys of the school.
Yeah.
Sounds like a club, but it really wasn't.
We can retroactively call it a club. That's fine.
That's a good idea. I've actually got some notes here, so I'm actually going to pull those up. It's good to be planned for these podcasts. It's been a long time since I last did one of those. So...
Phone's still
connected to the Bluetooth speaker, and I'm going to disconnect the Bluetooth speaker. I think these little things are kind of what make podcasts really interesting. You can also edit them out if you want to. So, Connor. Actually, I forgot. And cut. Okay, so Connor went to high school together, went to uni together. We did the same degree. We both did music education. Can you give a bit of a background as to why did you do education, what you learnt through that, and I guess, what's your main instrument? Because, you play something, I guess from the title of this, people can tell that you're a beatboxer, but you do something else, which is completely removed, or is it? We'll find out.
Okay, so first one was, why did I do a music education degree? And that kind of goes back all the way to in high school. And actually, I guess all the way back to primary school for me. That was the seed of that idea because I had such fantastic music teachers.
That's what you want.
So I was definitely inspired in that way, not on the surface, but I knew that, wow, those are some really cool people. And then also through high school, amazing music teachers. And I did a... was it year 10 work experience?
Yeah, I remember that in year 10.
Yeah, and I did mine at a school doing music teaching.
Really? What school was that?
At Sydney Grammar Primary School, Edgecliff.
That's really. Did Mr. Mew set that up for you, or did you?
Mr. Mew set that up for me, but also that's the school where I went to primary school, so I already knew them, and there were a couple of people still there from my day, and yeah, it was really nice to reconnect, and they kind of said. They wrote me a little letter at the end of it. It said, if you ever follow a path of becoming a music teacher, then hit us up. And I was like, that sounds like a job. I guess I'm going to do that.
Sounds like a career.
Yeah. And
Nice.
at the end of the HSC, I got my marks back, and you have to choose a uni course. So it's a lot of pressure. You have to choose exactly what you're going to do for the rest of your life, basically, right? And I was kind of torn between some media stuff and music education. And the deciding factor was that you can go into any field you want kind of just by knowing people and by having the skills. Except for education, you absolutely need that piece of paper or they don't let you in the room. It's super illegal.
Yeah, it's a little illegal. Yeah, I remember I was at your place in the pool, and I think we were having that conversation, swimming around, and that was a very fun memory. But yeah, no, it's really interesting how a lot of professions you can just almost teach yourself, but education, you do need that piece of paper.
Yeah.
And that's why that decision, I remember, it's interesting how you didn't weigh up between education and performance, because that was a way up for me.
Right.
Because, we went to the Con High, both of us, so got into the performance degree. I was like, oh, what do I want to do? I chose education over performance for that basic same reason, which was I can still perform. I still do those YouTube videos and I conduct and stuff like that. But I need that piece of paper in order to teach.
Yeah, well, that was the seed at the beginning of the day, but at the end of the day, it's actually been a lot of really useful skills, and I would honestly recommend most people do some kind of education degree or learn the skills and the philosophies and the psychologies of teaching people and teaching yourself, because it actually makes you a better performer anyway. It makes you a better at whatever you want to learn to do, because you can teach yourself.
Yes.
Brilliant. So I think the next thing you asked was, what did I learn in my degree? And I'd have to say that was the main thing, is just how to teach myself more stuff.
Yep.
So it's kind of spirals positively from there. So it was really, really good, really useful. And my degree officially on paper was Bachelor of Music Education, majoring in viola.
Viola.
I'm a viola player.
You're a viola
Duck.
player. Duck.
All right.
Yeah, can we insert a viola joke here somewhere?
Yeah, go for it. There's some really good ones.
Here it is. Ready? Insert viola choice of choice here. That's very safe. So let the audience member choose their own joke.
That's good.
Yeah. Text us on. We haven't got a text line yet, so maybe just leave a review of a viola joke. That's nice. Link somehow to Beatbox.
Doesn't have to be nice. No. That's why they're so good. I actually honestly love viola jokes. They're such good jokes because you can just take the viola part out of it and then apply them to every instrument, and you got yourself a perfectly viable joke. So I don't even mind that it's kind of like a through line, just like a thing that keeps recurring in a show, just for comic relief. So honestly, I don't even mind it.
Yeah.
But maybe I am biased because I definitely don't first and foremost consider myself a violist and a viola player.
Let's lock into that for a second. How long have you been playing viola for? Like, how did you get into that? Did you do what most people do, which is start violin, and then your teacher says do viola, or like, that's a nod?
Yeah, pretty much. That's the classic standard journey. So I started on violin way back when at the beginning of primary school, and towards the end of that, there was the classic problem which everyone has when you're trying to run an orchestra with there's not enough violas and there's 700 million violins, and you're like, if only I could convert. I'm gonna try and convert some, and then that's what they did to me. They just offered me position doing viola and lessons and an instrument, and they were like, hey, do this. Sounds interesting. And I kind of fell in love with it because violin, especially small violins, like when kids are playing, it's a lot of screeching, a lot of angry up register noises, and
angry is a good word.
it's I mean, that opinion has changed. There's some freaking incredible violin playing out there, but at that age I was kind of really drawn to the sound and the tone of the viola, and I kind of stuck with it for since now, up to now. Long time.
That's a long time. Okay. And so you're a viola player. You went through the con high as a viola player, and through uni you learned to like take a lot of skills, and we pushed each other a lot with photography and like I mean you're responsible for this, so thank you, Connor. It's a lot of money, but well spent money. So we push each other in fields a very similar way, except one field that you kind of just went down that we kind of like, we were down very similar paths, like skill set wise. And then you went down this really cool road, beatboxing. How? I actually don't know the story. So this is really fascinating.
Really? Okay. Well, there's a few factors, and there were lots of people that were kind of like small factors that just built on it over a long time. There wasn't like one thing that just kind of made me go from zero to like, I'm committed. I'm a beatboxer. I'm going to change my whole life plan and my whole career and stuff. It was more of a couple of seeds, and one of the seeds really early on was like all through my childhood. I watched the Umbilical Brothers,
those
and
guys.
the Upside Down show that they ran.
That was
right?
a show. Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, they're a pair of mimes, like no music, no sound, no nothing. And they're incredibly talented, performative, comedic mimes, and they do these fantastic routines, but their twist on it is that they actually add their own sounds, kind of their own Foley effects, vocal Foley, I guess, because there's
is that an actual thing, vocal Foley for the film industry?
I guess there are films that have used vocal sounds as their Foley, but Foley is the art of just creating all the sounds that you hear in movies that they, kind of like footsteps and stuff. They don't record the footsteps on the day of the actors.
No.
They just hire, cheap feet, cheap footsteps. Some lackey to come in and record themselves stomping around. So that's Foley, but they do all these really exciting sounds and change the radio as they're going, driving around in a car, and it just brings these scenes to life. And since I started watching that, I noticed that there were a lot of people doing that in a small way, especially in the performative world, especially in music. So that was the beginning, and they did one cover of a song, the Umbilical Brothers. They did a cover of "Feeling Good," which is one of my favorite songs.
We did that together, didn't we?
Which we've done together. You know, it's one of my favorites. I really love it, and possibly one of the reasons I love it is because they did this cover of them singing and beatboxing, and they created this fantastic full sound, and really took you on a journey. And birds flying high, huh? And they're kind of taking it literally, taking the joke element in it a bit. Anyway, you definitely go and check that out. So that was probably the biggest initial seed, but also kind of when we were in year 7, 8, 9, early high school, there was the Axis of Awesome, which was pretty popular, and they did a version of the 4-chord song, which was kind of sweeping the internet. The 4-chord song.
I still show that to my kids.
Bum 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 1 5 6 4.
I show it to my kids, and then when it gets up to that point, I actually have to find the clean version every single time.
Because it's an adult thing, but it's just kind of pervasive in all pop music. And there was a guy called Mal Webb, who's an Australian beatboxer, musician, multi-instrumentalist, vocal artist, whatever, like loads of things under his belt. What kind of a title do you even give that? Problem for later in this discussion.
Yeah, I think so.
But he did a cover of it with beatboxing and a looping pedal, and I was like, wow, that is really freaking efficient. If you can you don't even need like band members or anything. Nope. And I always kind of wanted to be in a band, but a bit lazy, didn't want to turn up to rehearsals, didn't want to like go and like gather people from scratch and try and form something. So the idea of doing everything yourself and just getting it directly out of your brain into the world, into other people's ears with nothing in between was so exciting. So that's why I kind of fell in love with exploring beatboxing for the first time.
Right.
And then there's a lot of online stuff. So beatboxing, I think, has been around forever, right? We've always had voices.
As long as I think, basically.
I honestly believe that in Western music, often based off like the Overtone series, we can do that with our mouths. So like people surely have been doing that for millennia. But what's changed in the last 40 years, 50 years is the internet and getting people to actually share these ideas with one another live, right? Which music is really important for. And YouTube has been huge, blew up completely the beatboxing community. So it's predominantly an online community.
Oh, is it?
I mean, most beatboxers, I've never met a beatboxer that hasn't watched loads of hours of online content.
Right.
And probably more online content than they've spent with other beatboxers, because we're kind of like few and far in between still-ish compared to like violin players or compared to like other instruments.
It's a little bit of a niche, but not quite a niche. It's more than
exactly.
Like, I don't know. There must be a word for it, but
I'm sure they're like more common than euphonium players, but less common than violin. So it's somewhere in that. Yeah, sorry, Reese. But also there's no official channels other than what beatboxers have started for people to gather beatboxers together, except for online. So things like Discord chats and Discord channels and YouTube channels are where beatboxers gather.
I think I've seen a few of your Instagram stories. Like I go through, there's Connor, and then like, you've uploaded like 20 videos in a row, and I just watch them. I actually watch the whole thing, and I go, cool. And then like some guy will come, he would like slam it, and then you're like, my turn, and then it's like, that was the online thing. But then I also remember seeing that you went overseas to New Zealand earlier in 2020.
Yeah,
and then
way
you
back
had, like,
when.
a beatbox battle or something. Like you were in like, it wasn't a bar, but it was like a room, and like everyone was like on couches, and everyone went up. And so can you explain to the audience like what that was?
Yeah, so if beatboxing is like most commonly online, it still doesn't even hold a candle to the awesome magic of just being able to make music live. Like it's just a jam session, right? But everyone is not restricted by having to work out how to play something, or not restricted by not having the same sheet music. It's just really raw connection between you and someone else, or you and a bunch of people in a jam session. And so a place like that tour around New Zealand at the beginning of 2020 was just finding these small pockets of beatboxers. And when I got there, the first night I landed in Wellington, and I was like, oh wow, this is so cool. There's a beatboxer here to meet me, and he was like, oh yeah, there's so many beatboxers in Auckland. And I was like, yes, so many. I'm great, so ready to meet this huge community. And I was like, how many are there? He was like, 10.
Whoa.
I was like,
double digits.
Wait, are you kidding? And he's like, no, I'm straight up. So 10 is a big number of beatboxers to actually feasibly gather together. So that's what I mean by the internet is the main like connection point for most of these people.
Right.
But when we did gather those people, we went to a venue, we found a room, bring a sound system, and people like pass the mic. It's not very COVID safe at the moment, but people pass the mic and people like jam on each other's ideas, and yeah, like you said, it's this battling idea, which is like a rap battle.
Like a rap battle is basically,
Yeah.
is it like a rap battle?
It's exactly like a rap battle.
Can you marry the two together?
I mean, yeah, if you're a really good rapper, you can like kind of incorporate lyrics and stuff into your beatboxing. For sure. But the way it works, it's everyone gets a minute and a half. You get 2 rounds each of a minute and a half, and you kind of just flip a coin or something, and someone goes first. And there is also an element of rebuttal, right? So normally in a rap battle or even in a debate, there would be an element of I see what you've given, I see what you've laid out, and I'm gonna trash it, or I'm gonna discredit it, or I'm gonna your mom or something
Something like that,
just to lessen it. And there is also an element of that in beatbox battling.
So, like, do you just take, like, I don't know, everyone's kind of got their, like, unique thing that they do when they beatbox. Do they kind of, like, take your beat that you made, kind of, like, just, like, mock it in a way, and then, like, overdo it, and then they go, okay, that's what you did. Here's actually something that's better. Is that kind of how it goes down?
It can be a mockery. It's kind of everyone beatboxing is very individual. Like everyone sounds pretty different.
Right.
So if you can copy someone else's style, you're kind of saying that, wow, okay, it's not that special. It's just it's easily copyable. No worries. Right. It's not that individual. So if someone does a really big finish to theirs, and then the other one grabs the mic and kind of takes it to another level, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this guy's even better, keeping up that energy. But at the end of every battle, almost every single battle I've seen, not every single one, but almost every single battle, they shake hands or they go together and hug, and
nice.
Like it's a really wholesome building experience, and no one's there to like. I mean, I guess you're kind of there to win, but you're also there to like just see what the community has and see how it's grown. Music. Yeah, and to make music, like, and for a lot of them, especially like we had there's a guy Codfish, like who recently, 2 years ago, I think, was the world champion of beatboxing. He's an Australian guy. He's moving pretty close to us soon, so we can hang out with him.
Oh, cool! He'll be on the next podcast.
Yeah. But I've talked to him about it, and he says that the number one thing that he does when he's performing is just perform to an audience. Like he's not really focused on the battle element. He's focused on just giving the audience an amazing show. Yeah, and that's such a truthful, raw, musical, performative thing to do that I just can't distinguish it from any other kind of performance.
Yeah, you talked about before how like everyone has their own specific style. Is there like a genre that beatboxing as a whole kind of leans itself towards mostly, or do you say because everyone's got an individual style, it's just everywhere?
Okay.
Because like from my like narrow-minded classical head, I'm like, oh, hip hop. That's just straight away. But can it branch out from that? Like,
I mean, okay. No, that's fair. That's a fair assumption. I think like 30 years ago, you'd probably be right. Like there probably wouldn't be a lot of other art forms, a lot of other styles and genres that are using beatboxing, because it's like started in hip hop.
Yeah.
So it makes sense to assume that at the moment, anything that you can imagine in your mind, you can kind of like do a version of. You can impersonate with your voice.
Okay.
So like the vocal foley, like bird sounds or cricket sounds or whatever. If you have something in your mind and you work on it, you can make a really good impression.
Cool.
So those barriers are starting to break down. Maybe not like pure orchestral, like because you need like a specific variety of tone colors to make an orchestra sound. But anything with drums certainly can be beatboxed.
So you said not classical, but okay, what about film music, which uses an orchestra but drums as well, like a really heavy drum beat? Like,
I guess
just trying to push the back, just like where, like, I don't know what the limits are of the
I think the limits are that, and we're not there yet. We're not at the limit of what beatboxing and the human voice is able
we're
to
testing.
do. We're
like,
testing.
We're still pushing. It's new in its infancy.
So at the moment, I would say that no, you could not copy an entire specific orchestra sound. You could get close, and you
like
could
even
use
with
effects.
multi-tracking and all that stuff, like not quite yet. Yeah.
Yeah, there are just some sounds that are like metal sounds. Metal is really hard to impersonate. There is nothing in the human voice that makes it, lends itself towards copying metal. So metallic instruments are hard.
Like a trumpet?
No. That's a wind instrument, right? So because what's vibrating is the air
and your lips, yeah.
and your lips to make that vibration. So trumpets pretty easy. I don't know. We have to go instrument by instrument, but
Okay.
yeah, I think orchestral is about where the limit is at the moment.
Cool.
But you can get a lot of like house music and like dancing
So
music.
more digital manipulation sounds you can get.
Well, yeah, I mean these days a lot more, and the funny thing is that you won't get people starting to copy the sounds
Right.
without those sounds already existing. Often, like people are doing that a little bit, but you won't have like a widespread, like hundreds and hundreds of beatboxing minds trying to copy a house beat made with instruments that don't exist yet, right? So all these electronic sounds that people are impersonating, like a siren or whatever, people are only copying those because they can hear them.
Right.
So often beatboxing it's still at the level where it's impersonating other sounds and other instruments and other drum kits and other sample packs and that
Things like
kind of
that.
thing. Yeah.
But maybe soon, like maybe a few years, when people figure it out, like they can start inventing sounds.
Well, people do. I mean,
Okay.
that people are doing that at the cutting edge of
Right.
of beatboxing. People are often discovering new sounds. There are sounds that I can do that I've never seen anybody else doing. But not that I'm sure that nobody can do them. But
But you haven't seen it yet.
I haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
It's like a weird pressurized tongue click thing that I've been able to do for a few years.
Yeah.
So I don't know anybody in the whole world that can do exactly that sound.
Right.
And a throat whistle, I only know of like 2 other people that can do that. And I've been looking for a long time. So
Make a YouTube video. It's like, I'm looking for other throat whistlers out there. It's like start a journey of vlog series.
yeah, please send beatboxers. No, it's really interesting. So there's loads of different sounds and loads of people that when they get to the top of the game, they just start pioneering because they get bored with all the, you can only make like 10 million sounds. Oh, that's lame. I want more. And they start making more sounds. They just start combining things in new ways and exploring.
Yeah. A lot of people out there have, when they think of beatboxing, they think of the classic boots and a cats and a boots and a cats. Should we do a little mini tutorial for people on how to?
Yeah, for
how
sure.
to
Boots and Cats is a great place to start. So say Boots and Cats.
boots and cats,
Great. Say Boots and Cats twice.
boots and cats and boots and cats,
Beautiful. Now whisper it.
boots and cats and boots and cats.
Yeah, and you're already jumping into the next
I
step.
am jumping a little bit.
That's all right. You know where this is going.
I know where this is going.
You just enunciate more the B of boots and the K of cats, or it's the C of cats, but in beatboxing notation, we'd write it as a K, an outwards K snare. Go. Good. And you should notice by the end of that, you're starting to get a little out of breath.
Yes.
Because all of these sounds are outwards.
Yes.
So you really need at some point a sound to be inwards or and breathe. Otherwise, you'll die.
Okay. Yeah, we don't want to do that, especially not on the stream, because that's
Yeah, we'll leave that till afterwards when the camera stops.
When the
rolling,
camera
no
stops,
worries.
yeah, we'll just see how long we can go for.
So you can do, and this is one of those divisive sounds. It's tricky for some people, but really easy for other people. If you breathe in while saying K.
So K. So
Yeah, great. So if you do out.
I couldn't even tell when you were breathing in. Okay, let me try. Okay, here we go. So
Great. Yeah, really good. And so that way, I mean, you have to work on building that balance so you're not expelling too much air on
And
the
you start
outs or too much on
hyperventilating
the
and
in.
things like that.
But over time, you can build up, lots of endurance and lots of lung control and lots of.
How long can you
just
go for
understanding.
without needing to like stop and take a breather?
Probably like unlimited. Like is no like we would not have long enough on this podcast.
So it's like circular breathing on any brass instrument or any like.
Yeah, exactly.
any
But
wind-
the
wind
circular
blow.
is not internal. It's circular outside because you can breathe in as well.
Yeah.
And the sounds aren't. It's not like trumpet. Circular breathing would be for pure, continuous, uninterrupted sound.
Yeah.
With beatboxing, there's loads of gaps, right? So even between all those, there's enough space to add another sound in the middle. So there's like loads of room for breath sounds to be part of it.
Wow.
And I love that you were copying my hand so that the out and the in
Yeah.
when your hand moves. I know it's a podcast, but there's a lot of beatboxers that use their hand, and you should keep an eye out for that.
Oh, okay. So their hand movements are kind of like so people are aware of what they're doing. So because you can't unfortunately see into your, like, hang on, let me just X-ray into your mouth as your yeah.
It doesn't work. So,
No.
so people copy that and do shapes with their hands, and sometimes it's a performative thing. Sometimes it just helps people like figure out where the beat is. If you're like.
Oh, so they keep it going. It's like
Yeah,
It's
so,
like, it's
so
like a
it
classic
helps people imagine it.
Yeah.
So it's got lots of uses, but beatbox is, very, very expressive with their hands.
Yeah.
Anyway, bit of a tangent.
Bit of a tangent. What were we talking about before? I can't remember. Things. Just
Things, yeah.
beatboxing in general. Okay, beatboxing in general. You were doing a low pass filter the other night.
Yeah.
Can you show everyone how you do that? And explain how you do it.
So a low pass filter is a filter that you turn on and off, and you sweep from low to high, and you allow low frequencies. And you allow higher and higher frequencies as you turn that filter. So the way you do that is you just make your lips into an ooh shape. Ooh. And you slowly smile. Yeah. And just because of the shape of your mouth and the frequencies that resonate in those shapes, like a long versus a ooh.
Is that kind of like when you put your phone speaker to your mouth?
Yeah,
and you go, ooh, and
It's the exact same thing.
Cool.
Yeah. So that kind of like mouth shape movement is with all pitch stuff comes in to all layers of beatboxing at all levels.
Does that mouth shape? I don't sing. Does
Yeah,
that?
you do.
I'm assuming that's how like singers really get like specific like projections, specific registers. And stuff like that.
It definitely keys into that. I mean, I think there's lots of stuff about singing technique that I don't know yet. So I'm still learning, but definitely there's parts of that like when you have a note that rings, you hear it, you're like, wow, that note is pinging off the walls, zinging. It's like it just has a sense that it's going everywhere and really resonating. It's usually because several of the overtones are aligned perfectly, and the shape of your mouth changes that. So if you find yourself an empty room and just belt a note into it, and then like change your mouth shape, you'll find a spot where it rings more and rings less.
That's pretty cool. All right, so on to the next thing, which was I remember you talking about like last time we had a conversation. Was bringing beatboxing into the classroom. Convince me, go.
Explain to a student. I'm your student. Explain to me how to make a good hi-hat sound.
Sorry, I don't understand. What do you mean, like make a...
You're the teacher.
I'm the teacher.
I'm the student.
Yes.
Sir, I don't understand how to play this hi-hat. But you're trapped on the other side of the room. You can't like cross the room to show the student.
No. Oh, I've actually done this. I'm not even kidding.
How do you do it?
Okay, well, so then press down and it should sound like this.
Bam. The information, the quickest way for the information that's in your head, because you know what's right and wrong by the sound, the quickest way for you to get that out is by demonstrating the sound. And then it's immediately out there for everyone to hear. And then it's immediately in their head to try and copy, right? Rather than, a series of criteria that they're like vaguely trying to interpret the English words into like a physical 3D understanding and then back into English words to compare it. It's such a mess to try and do it that way. So just how direct it is a great reason to use beatboxing. And I think all good music teachers already do?
I kind of, well, that makes me a very good teacher then, because I guess I kind of do that in the classroom a little bit. Yeah, I guess so, because when I take like an ensemble, we're doing like a bit of a classroom thing. I'm like, all right, you there on the drums, you're going to do this, boom, boom, scat, and I go, and I tell them to do that, and they're like, look at me, and they're like, oh, okay. Rather than me having to, hang on a second, let me drop my bass guitar, put on the stand, walk over, grab a djembe, get myself ready, and boom, 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 okay, now time to get back.
Yeah, even to describe it, it took you like 3 times longer. Like, so it's just so clear. And you know, in the classroom, you're going for like getting through content and getting things done efficiently. And I just think beatboxing is really helpful for that. But that's just like one specific use case for beatboxing. But there is a lot of use cases where, you know, just say you gave a student an assignment to do an a cappella cover of a song. Right. Loads of really good videos about how to do that arranging and how to use Logic or GarageBand to do those.
And all those things.
But then you get all these students submitting something and they really wanted to have some percussive sounds, so they just like put in a GarageBand loop. And it just sounds so like predictable. And it's like, oh, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
And it's not what they wanted either.
No.
So
they just do it because they're like, I have no choice. That's all I can do.
They really think that if they don't have a drum kit in their house, that they have no way of getting percussion into the track. But if you just like show them some of the pentatonics tracks, or show them some
pentatonics,
like, you know, even the Idea of North has a beatboxer now. Everyone, all the a cappella world is jumping on this train.
I met the beatboxer from Idea of North. He came to school actually. Yeah. And he was the coolest guy. He's very soft spoken, surprisingly, actually. He's like, yeah. Then it just smashes out these things. You're like, what?
Yeah.
But he could make a lot of sounds. Like he could do a vacuum cleaner. He could do traffic. Yep. He could do traffic. He could do a lot of things. He was actually recreating like different environments. He was like, I'm in a forest now, and did all these things, and like did a woodpecker.
Oh, what's a woodpecker sound like?
I was like, I can't do it. You're asking me.
Okay, yeah, well, see, that's the thing, is like, what does a woodpecker sound like? Keep an eye out for this. There you go, bird enthusiasts. Learn to beatbox, and then you can like tell each other what to look for in sound, what to listen for.
Yeah, he did a woodpecker, and I was like, whoa. It was the weirdest thing. And then he was like circular breathing and everything, and it was like very cool.
Yeah, I think there's just so much potential for what
it is becoming more mainstream, especially with pentatonics.
It's yes. Pentatonics, like latest Christmas album, that's like the number one.
Did they make one for 2020?
Yeah.
What?
There's pentatonics everywhere, man.
I know they've got like 50 Christmas albums. Every year, like pentatonics to me is very Christmas time of year. I've got all their albums, but I didn't know they made one last year, 2020.
They're everywhere. Go check them out.
Okay. Look, we're in January now, but I don't care.
That's fine. Blast it.
I'm going to listen.
You can blast it once.
Yeah,
but yeah, they've definitely done a really, really big thing in making it more mainstream. But lots of people have in their own way. Like TV shows are starting to include beatboxers as like a token hip hop thing, so that's like making progress.
Making progress slowly.
There have been documentaries about it.
You made one, didn't you?
I made a documentary.
Let's talk about that.
I'm still working on it, baby. I
thought you finished it like a year ago.
Nah,
it's never finished.
It's never. Will it go
to Netflix? Is that the aim?
Yeah, sure. I started making a documentary about beatboxing in 2017. Was it?
No. I was in third year.
18 for me. You were in...
I was in my final year. Yeah, so 2018, yeah.
2018. So 2018, I started making that.
That's right, for your tech assignment.
For my tech assignment. Yes. Fantastic assignment. Thanks, James. And I made this like kind of hour-long cut of it, but it's still, you know, like hundreds of gigabytes of footage that I cut down to an hour to make it palatable for someone to actually watch it.
Because James had to mark that.
Yeah, because it had to be marked, and like that was a logistical thing. But at that point, I had decided exactly what form it should take. You know, a lot of documentaries these days are kind of like a mini series. You know, like 6 half-hour episodes or whatever. The people can binge or not if they don't want. So it's kind of up in the air. And you know, since then I've been to hundreds more beatboxing events, met hundreds more beatboxers, and filmed hundreds and hundreds of gigabytes more footage to kind of squash into that same thing. And I haven't done another cut since the first cut. So I feel like that's still maybe a little while away.
Is that a 2021 goal or maybe like a 2020's goal?
Well, yeah, I kind of got to work backwards. So there was originally a 10-year plan that started
Okay.
in 2018, but it was not really a.
So it's a long. I don't know what it takes to make a documentary. Like I'm just a pleb when it comes to filmmaking, and I'm like, oh, just film a bunch of things, edit it, and then bam, there you go.
Well, yeah, if you want, that's a documentary. That's fine.
Right.
It's very open field of creativity. But the 10-year plan was for getting beatboxing into schools.
Right.
So the documentary was an element of that, and it was kind of geared towards teachers originally to have this conversation, rather than me having it individually with them, and just convince them, hey, there's all this stuff. But a documentary is just one part of the many prongs needed for that like kind of widespread change. And I don't mean like, every teacher is not using words anymore. They're just beatboxing.
Yes, I walk in and I go, hello. Yeah, sorry, not hello, you 10.
Hello. Sit down, everybody. Johnny, sit down. Come on, I've told you 6 times.
Yeah, it's
I like that.
it was more of a just I want people to kind of see the potential, and I think it's a lot of like kind of big change that needs to happen.
Well, that's why we've
in
got
a
this
lot of areas.
podcast here.
Yeah,
Part of the music mission. We're changing things.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
thanks.
Cool. Well, I guess we're running up. Oh, wow. I haven't got a timer on this thing, so I actually don't know. Hang on. If I click the button and I go to time, we've been going for not 1 hour and 36 minutes. Okay. So we've got plenty of time. So anything else you want to like add to it? What's something we haven't covered? Do you want us to lay down some beats while I think?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I just looked at my notes very briefly.
Yeah, good plan.
Yeah, it was good.
You can have them up. It's not blasphemy.
No, it's blasphemy. People must not know that I have notes. How dare I not memorize every single thing?
Penny has notes.
I'm sorry. That's weirdly ASMR, I guess. All right. So we talked about high school and your experience of like how that inspired you and the Biblical Brothers and stuff like that, and then to uni, how you started exploring these things and started taking it to the next thing. I want to ask the question is, where are you right now with like beatboxing and like your professional career? But also I just had a side tangent as I was generating. I don't know how I just generated 2 ideas at the same time. So there's that. Where are you going?
Yeah,
But also,
I'll hold on to
did Odysseus have anything to do with beatboxing? And then, no, you can take it back to the center and keep going.
There's a good question that I can answer quickly. Short answer, no.
Okay, cool.
There was a brief discussion at some point in the early days in the studio where I was like, hey, I can beatbox. And then they were like, oh, cool. And then we just kind of forgot about it and didn't do anything with it. But that's okay. Like it was just like a tangential hip hop relationship. It didn't need beatboxing.
No.
Electronic sounds are very effective for the show.
Amazing.
So anyway, that's
Cool. And that's why
fine.
that was a side tangent thought.
Yeah,
I was like, oh, there we go. All right. So now back to the main thing, which is, so where are you right now?
Where you at?
Where you at, boy?
Well, 2020 and 2021 were wild years. It was kind of looking like it would be a really good year originally in 2020 for doing a tour around Australia again. Like I did one with the Daytime Conference, which is an education conference for music teachers.
Oh, that's right. You went with Remy, didn't you?
Yeah. We went all around Australia and we like presented to teachers, and like that's another prong in the 10-year plan, and that went really well. And there's some contacts at schools,
Cool.
So would be great to go to those schools and do the workshops myself and kind of do that with kids. And I did a couple at the beginning of the year before the world shut down. And then the world kind of turned online, and I just kind of switched off musician mode a little bit and kicked video editor, video production mode into high gear because
Into very high gear.
very high gear because the whole world just turned to digital immediately.
Yep.
Like every concert, every performance, every single pieces. We had loads of virtual ensembles to deal with. So
Yeah, everything was digital. I had to adapt.
yeah, I know.
Everyone's
That's right.
adapted.
I think everyone did. So it was kind of not as strong a year as I was hoping for beatboxing.
Yeah.
In terms of getting it out there. But there was still some online. I did an online course with Gondwana where I taught
Yes, I remember you
beatboxing for a
advertising
term.
that. Yeah. How'd that
Yeah,
go?
that was great. That was great. It was 10 weeks, and
10-week program. Okay.
it was like a full term, like beatboxing once a week, every week on a Wednesday night, and I'd have like a group of like younger high school kids and like older high school kids and like a uni kind of like end of high school uni kind of class, and it's really interesting because like I say, beatboxing is just like so used to being online, but so much better live.
Right.
And in my personal time, I'll spend a lot of time with other beatboxers live. So it was kind of a little bit fantastic that I could, help all these people like explore their beatboxing, and a little bit sad that it had to be online because it would have been so cool if
they're in
if it was
person.
live. It would have just been that much better.
Yeah.
But
Because
no,
you
but
got
it went really well.
into groups. Like, right, you're going to lay down this beat, and then you're going to lay down this, and da 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 da.
So good. So you can just turn people into like their own looping machines.
Yeah.
Freaking fantastic. So effective. Online, super tricky for like my violin and viola, like private teaching as well. That hasn't got any easier because of online. Yeah. So it was an interesting year. There was some workshops, there was some projects, there was some things that happened. Like I got asked to make a shout out for Beatbox Australia, and I just haven't gotten around to doing that yet.
Oh. Should we make it here? Go. Shout out to Beatbox Australia. We did it.
Yeah.
You can
That's
text,
it. All right, I can send it to them and say thanks. I recorded myself by saying shout out.
It wasn't even you, it was me.
It was Panny sent you a shout out. That's 2 for 1. So a shout out's just kind of like you deliver a routine and you say this is something I've been working on. It's like a it's just a performance
so
video.
not a literal shout out. It's like
But at the beginning or the end, usually the beginning, it is like a live, literal shout. It's like, hey, shout out to this is big thanks to Swiss Beatbox. Shout out to my friend Papuni and Beatbox Australia. And then you launch into your routine,
That's
and that's and that would be the start of the shout out video. So I kind of just hadn't decided exactly what I wanted to do for that yet, whether it was going to be a looping thing or a live
that
thing.
throat, like that. That's a new thing. That I've only noticed you doing that in the last few months.
But yeah.
Can you explain like the journey of like how your beatboxing has changed over time? Because that's a new one to me. And like I remember the first time I heard it, it was at like
At a getaway.
at the getaway, and I remember we're like walking down the driveway, and you just did it, but just by itself. And there was no other beat around it. You just and I turned around and go, "Is there a dog?" I was like, oh, it's Connor.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, okay, cool, okay." So and I go, "Okay, you're practicing a new technique." Can you explain what that technique is and like musically what it's meant to do? But then like once you do that, talk about like your journey of how like you've. Because I know like Caitlin and Karen and David talk about how you did like the lip thing, like I had a cut. There we go.
Lip roll.
And so like I guess this is the new that sort of thing.
It's kind of. I mean that lip roll thing. So the story and Karen and Caitlin and David and the people that are involved in my string quartet, Viola, woo,
Court Ed.
Court Ed, so good. Follow us on everything.
There we go. There's your shout out.
Yeah, shout out to Court Ed. We were on tour, and there was a sound that I really wanted to learn called the lip roll. And lip rolls, at the time, this is probably 2 years ago, was traditionally in the beatboxing community a hard sound to learn, just because it's really weird face position. Like it's just kind of on one
tapping.
side, and you have to figure out which side is which. And I was like poking and prodding my face in all these different positions. And I was just kind of like really obsessed with getting this sound. And I'd heard people like, oh, yeah, it took me like 3 months. Yeah, it took me like 6 months. Yeah, it took me like 5 weeks to learn that sound. And I was like, oh, no, I want it now. I want that sound so bad.
Just gonna make it happen.
Well, it wasn't like a sheer force of will. I was just so obsessed that every spare second that we were on tour, I spent an entire day, like performing and doing our tour thing. But every spare second, I would just.
Are you sucking in or blowing out?
In. But just with the vacuum pressure of your mouth, not like in
Oh.
with your breath. So that's how it starts, just in your mouth.
Can't do it.
And then, so it's kind of starts like a. And then you just move it. Then you just move it to the side, and then you kind of close it off and get it to a longer vibration.
Yeah.
This is like condensing my whole 24-hour day into like a minute. And then to get it to get really low and long, you have to open your throat and breathe in while you do it. So you have the same position, and then you breathe, and then you can pitch it.
Wow, it's like buzzing on a trumpet almost.
It's like it's just a lot oscillation, right, in lips, but at a very particular place with a particular airflow. And it's one of those sounds that is just so effective on a microphone.
Yeah, and so this new throat thing is the new thing.
Throat. Yeah, well, that's where the story was going. I remember that. Thank you. So that day really changed how I thought about it, because I'd always heard these people saying, "Yeah, these sounds are hard. It'll take you months to learn it," and I was like, "No, it doesn't have to. It'll take you a day, but it'll be like." A really annoying day for everyone in the proximity of you. Like anyone within 20 meters is just going to have a bad day unless they're on board with this mission, or you shut yourself in a room or whatever. Because you have to just be really repetitive with it.
Yeah.
But if you do 100 attempts over, like 10 months, it's harder than doing 100 attempts over one day.
Because memory,
Yeah, because you just forget what you've already tried before. It's just less efficient. And I say the same thing to people learning to whistle. Like, oh, I can't whistle.
Oh.
All right. Spend an entire day trying to whistle. I promise you'll figure it out.
No, like non-stop the whole day.
Not even non-stop. Just like
don't
when
give
you're
up.
not busy.
Yeah.
Just like in between, like you're on your way from the bathroom to your desk where you're working.
Yeah.
Just practice then.
The whole day.
On your
Just-
way downstairs to get a drink. Practice then. I promise you, there's enough minutes spare in the day.
Mm-hmm. You've just tried once or twice. Go, I can't do it. It's like, well, of course not. I was year 2, and I think I did the same thing. I spent a whole day trying to whistle, and I got to this. That's where I started, and then eventually I was happy with that for a year, and then I figured out that that's how you get a whistle. Same thing with this. Like I forced myself to do that. I couldn't do that. Everyone could do it, so I just sat there prying my fingers. I'm doing the Spock hand thing for those people who
My
are
goodness.
doing audio only, available on YouTube and all podcast services. So I forced myself, and I was in year 6. I was like, I just sat there for a whole day, like not like obsessively, but every spare minute, I was like, stretch.
Yeah.
So you can do
Train
things with
yourself. Yeah, it's amazing what you can do in one day. So I think that's the real powerful thing that I like. It's one of my favorite lessons to leave people with, is just pick a sound that you actually want to learn and then do it. For teachers, I'd say that whistling, like not a wolf whistle, but the whistle that you do with your fingers.
Yeah, I haven't.
Oh boy, that is so useful
Yeah.
in so many situations.
I think I've spent a total of 2 minutes of my life figuring that one out, and I'm convinced that if I spent a whole day, I could probably do it. But I haven't had that urge to really learn how to do that yet. So
Yeah. Well, so that's the thing, is that it's annoying, and it's a block for most people if you have to spend 2 hours non-stop.
yeah,
But you don't have to. You just spend 2 hours over the course of 2 days, and you'll get it.
yeah,
Like guaranteed.
you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
It's like when you give a kid a trumpet and they're like, I can't do it. You're like, no, you can. It's just like, you just let, and actually you're kind of facilitating that trial and error thing.
Yeah. The trial and error is amazing. Trial and error is how we discover all of our stuff.
Pretty much everything.
Yeah. I think it's a really powerful lesson for young kids to learn. And I think if your student that had done that had done a beatboxing sound before and struggled with it and gotten it in a few days or a few weeks or whatever, however long it took, they would have been more like, oh yeah, I haven't got it yet. The power of yet.
I think a good quote, and this could be like a cool way to wrap up things soon, which is a lot of kids say, oh, I can't play this instrument. I can never play music. I can't do this, blah, 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 blah. But then a good thing to do is say, like, especially they're like 14 or 15, say, can you drive? They say, no. Will you be able to drive? Yes. Why? Because I'm going to learn. Okay, cool. How many hours is it going to take? A lot. It's like, so you agree that you can't drive at all right now? No, useless. Yep, absolutely. You don't even know where the wheel is, which way the car faces.
Yeah.
But in your head, you are convinced you will learn that you have the ability to learn to drive. Yes, you have the ability to learn music. That's my thing. It's like, okay, you can't play music. Yeah, you're useless. Great. You can't keep a straight beat. Yeah, there are so many kids out there who will get in a car and face the wrong way. You know, but they'll learn to drive like how you learn to keep a straight beat. And that's what I think with music is like everyone can learn it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Like, and
I've been really like wrapped up in the talent myth. Every time someone says the word talent, I cringe and I you know,
you're so
almost wanna
talented. It's like,
throw
no,
things.
it's just hard work.
No, I'm not. Like, you know, I know where it's coming from. It's a nice thing to say, but it's just misdirected. Like, and it's misintentioned. And
It's like a God's gift. It's like just I woke up one day and I could play triple C's on my trumpet.
yeah, I'm waiting for that day because my trumpet is just not magical
Don't
enough
worry.
for that for me.
Talent will. I'm going to give you some talent.
Oh,
Here we go.
thanks, man. Oh, that's so nice
There
of
we
you
go.
to lend me some talent.
There we go.
No, I'm just gonna freaking work for it and get more skilled, and then it's gonna happen, which is how it happens for everyone. So, anyway, that's a little tangent, but very kind of prevalent
a good
this
tangent.
year, and kind of just the more and more with education that I spend my time, that just comes up more and more often. But you asked me about this sound.
Yeah. So how is that advantageous to the lip roll?
So
To me, I'm like, oh, they're the same thing, aren't they?
in my head, it's just another sound.
Okay.
I know it's possible. It's just like a car thing. I know other people that have learnt to do that,
Cool.
and I know it's possible. So, you know, it's a weird sound, and it's one of those sounds that's kind of feels weird to do it first.
Yeah,
it
'cause
can
it-
feel scratchy. Can
Yeah.
feel like, wait, is this hurting me? And the rule is with beatboxing, if it hurts, stop. Just don't. No, don't. Just wait till tomorrow. Have some water. Stop. You'll have your voice tomorrow.
Stop.
You'll thank yourself.
There's
Seriously.
a meme there somewhere about stop.
Stop. It's so simple. There are beatboxers that push themselves and get hurt, and that's just like not, you know, good beatboxing and not common sense. So don't do that. But if you do follow those rules and, you know, you drink water and you take breaks and you don't push yourself beyond hurt, you can build up, like a muscles and resistance and an understanding of what's happening and when you're
Right,
pushing
yeah.
too far, and then a sound where, you know, you're kind of growling in a way can become not painful at all.
Right.
You know, I'm not speaking with the people around me, but not painful for me.
You build up the strength. Like how I can play trauma for hours, whereas you probably like chop out after
minutes. I got minutes in me.
Yeah, and I know when I can push, and like, you know, when it's worth to push. Like, it's gonna bust if I keep going. You know, like.
Yeah, you build up an awareness
Yeah.
of what's possible and what your limits are, and that, you know, you can build that up with common sense or not. You can learn the hard way, but I don't know. That's just a sound that kind of takes a little while to feel where it goes. And I think it's one of those things that's tricky with headphones on anyway. But yeah, that was when you first saw me doing that. That's when I was first kind of like in the zone of like, I just really want to figure out how it works. I just want to know.
I instantly knew that's what you were doing. I was like, it's the lip roll again, but this time I'm experiencing what Caitlin, Karen, and David did.
Yeah.
But I just remember walking down that driveway. I'm like, is there a dog?
I'm okay with that.
Because it was just like a growl, yeah. But now, like it's and now I can see it, like it's been a few months now, and like you're getting different pitches now, and it's evolving. And
Yeah.
you can tell there's an efficiency to it rather than like it felt like a bit force and brute strength. It's like I am just gonna one for all and just beyond your limit. Who needs those? But now it's like there's an efficiency to it, and like you can hear like there's an actual controlled element to it.
Yeah, and it just keeps going. Like once, you know, if that's how far I thought it could be taken, if I hadn't heard people doing it better, I'd be like, okay, great, I'm the best at it. I don't need to get any better. I wouldn't practice to get any better, but because I've heard people do it like with more efficiency, it's such a good word for it. Like more control, more clarity, more efficiency. Then that's kind of what I'm working towards. But I'm less in the obsessed stage now. And I'm kind of like there's not every single day is there a sound that I'm actively obsessed with learning.
Right.
But when, you know, I think a few months ago there was another sound that I was learning.
Do that again. Whoa.
Which is like a clop, which is your tongue hitting the bottom of your mouth behind your teeth. So here's your teeth.
Yeah,
here's
yeah.
the bottom of your mouth.
Okay, so I don't think I can slap at that.
Yeah, you
No, I
literally
can't,
you
I can't,
have
I
to
can't.
build up strength.
I have no idea, not much tongue strength.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like for me at first as well. I was like, "What is this? How is this
Yeah,
even
it's just like-
possible?" Yeah, it's just like
It's like a wet slap.
a word. Yeah, so it's like
Yeah.
like one of those cluck sounds, but
Yep.
without the pressure or the flicking kind of element from the teeth.
I can't. Yeah. Cool.
Anyway, so it's got that, and then you need a hollow whistle, which is whistling through your throat into the resonance chamber of your mouth, and then out of an ooh shape in the front of your lips. And it just, I spent an entire day pretty much. It was a teaching day, so I was like in between students, and I was like, "Hey, student, check out this sound." And I couldn't make the sound yet, so they were just looking at me like,
He's like, what are you doing?
"Connor, you strange person."
But you're my teacher. So,
anyway.
okay, so it's good.
Yeah. Anyway, let's do some violin. So that's what I mean. It's like right in the middle of that. I didn't take time out of my day to do it. I just did it back and forth. And when I was
We've all
walking
got those
around.
moments. Yeah.
Yeah, there's plenty of time. And that, within a day, I had a specific kind of whistle that works with that. And if you're really in a pinch and you need to like pretend like someone's texting you, you know what I mean? Like it's
That's
so
handy.
specific.
That's handy.
It's maybe
But,
maybe.
sorry,
once.
I'm just getting a lot of. We're getting a lot of messages.
Yeah. But yeah, those moments happen. Still, kind of just every once in a while.
Cool. All right. I think basically we're coming up on an hour now. That was good.
Perfect.
Thank you, Connor. That was very, very informative. I learned a lot about beatboxing and a bit more about your story behind beatboxing, which was very, very cool.
Yeah.
Could you send us off with like the most complicated beatbox you can?
Yeah,
I've
sure.
seen you do it on Instagram like once or twice. I was like, please, I need more of it. So
I think you mean a technical beatbox, as in
technical-
like fast speed.
Yeah, one of
Okay,
those.
Yeah,
Okay,
I
here we
got
go.
you. Thanks for having me.